So the reason I asked to start the record now is because I'm thinking, right?
Hmm.
Why don't we turn this into like I said in the text, we'll have our conversation. What's our game plan? What do we want? Maybe flesh out a little bit about what the topics are to kind of give an inside view of who we are.
Yeah.
We're thinking what the goals for the channel are. Practice transparent leadership in a leadership channel. You know,
So kind of like a behind the scenes.
yeah, of like our conversations. And I think if we kind of maybe do this quarterly, it'll allow people to see what we have coming up. Because my thought is, yeah, we could send out an email saying we're going to talk about what is mentorship. Maybe if
Mhm.
they see a little bit of us talk about what we're looking at, that might make more people feel comfortable
Yeah.
come in. And also we have the option of if we don't like how this turns out, either edit the crap out of it or we don't air it.
Super valid point. And, as I reflect back on previous shows and how to get better, and I see other people out there doing different things that I like and I don't like, one of the promises I made to myself is I'll stay authentic and I
Hmm.
won't have fancy editing and all that. But, I like that idea because I think that part of the feedback I've gotten is I don't want to be on camera. But
Hmm.
then when people give me that feedback, then they go on camera and then it goes live. Not one time have I had a person come back and say, "Hey, I absolutely hate the way I was perceived."
Yeah.
Every single time, everybody comes back and says, "That was a lot better than I thought it was going to be."
Yeah.
And so, um, I think that this is great because what people don't see is they never see the pre-record,
Yeah.
which sometimes are the best part of the show where we're laughing, we're busting chops.
Yeah.
You'll catch me cussing, the fun stuff. So
You're
yeah,
gonna get help from the church now.
I think that's a different story. Keep in mind, I'm a Methodist, Mike, so we're Christian light.
But
So
I mean, also a key point to with what you're saying, John, is we also don't put it out there that if you don't like something, we can
mhm,
edit that out. If something came
correct.
up, you don't like the way something's being presented, that everybody in there has the ability to take a look at it and give their critique.
Yes.
Um, so there is that level of security. It's not like you have no say. Once it's recorded, you have no say. It just goes out, blah, blah, blah. You still get to look at it. And if you feel uncomfortable, then we can adapt it from there.
Hmm.
Um, So I mean, yeah, it's just I want to take the black box out of it. That's my thought. And I mean, I think we're like-minded on that. We don't want this to be something scary. We want more engagement around this.
Yep.
So I think this might be a good way for us to start.
Yeah. No, I think this is a great idea. Um, And so one of the things I just real quick before we get going into, what I hope is the fun stuff, the planning of what do we really want to accomplish with this as we dedicate at least an hour a week to this.
Hmm.
Um, you know, uh, I don't know. My intent is that whatever we decide on today, this is going to go live today on
Yep.
YouTube, which is why I'm wearing my Nebraska shirt today. I don't know if you're aware, but last night or yesterday afternoon, actually, um, what is being reported as potentially an F5 tornado ripped through Omaha, and just horrifying destruction. The stuff you see every time a major hurricane or a major tornado rips through the Midwest.
Mm.
Um, Omaha was my home for technically longer than where I grew up, my childhood home. And Omaha is the place I've lived the longest in my adult life. So a lot of friends and former coworkers suffered either minor loss or catastrophic loss. And some of these houses are just flattened. And it's heartbreaking to see it. And a former coworker, whose name is Kyle Dobbs, recorded, I'm guessing from his house. I don't know because I haven't talked to him, but one of the videos that is going viral of just how big this tornado was. They're saying it was a mile wide. I don't know if that's been validated or not, but the darn
Uh,
thing was huge. And there were, I mean, multiple tornadoes that ripped through with the storm. I reached out to a friend of mine, and here's how I found out. And I'll pop this image up on the screen
mhm.
when I go back through and do the editing. But former coworker, friend, Justin Belt, posted on his Facebook yesterday, "I'm out with my pickup truck, a chainsaw, and bottled water. If you need help, let me know." And I thought, that's odd. What's that about? And
Sounds like Texas Chainsaw Massacre going on right there.
yeah, and so I'm like, that's crazy. I wonder what's going on. And I was standing in a hardware store. My wife was picking out some paint, and I'm like, that's weird. So immediately I open up and I Google what, and I'm like, I just completely stunned. And I immediately stopped and I called my parents to make sure they were okay. Then they said the family's fine. And then I started calling people that I know that live in the path of the storm, just to, voice to voice, make sure that they're okay. But, it's just when you live through those things, it's for some reason, like I've been through several tornadoes and, um, the adrenaline rush, because what happened was you have a lot of videos of people out there with their phones pointing at it and staring at it when you're thinking, get to safety. But I can tell you I was that guy. In fact, we had a tornado go right over our house in Manhattan, Kansas one time. And the only reason that I missed it, because I was standing in my kitchen, I looked out and I saw things in my backyard start to float. I'm like, holy crap, a tornado. And I ran to the garage to get a ladder so that I can get up on the roof. That's the only reason I missed the tornado. By the time I went to the garage and back to the kitchen, it had passed over and hit the next neighborhood over. So, people can say what they want to say, but when you're in the midst of it, it's terrifying and exciting and, all of the emotions at once. Um, but my heart goes out to them. I've sent a message this morning asking if there's a reputable place for donations to go for people who need it, because one of the videos about made me cry. It was a young lady who said, like she's videoing her house, which is not there anymore. It's just a pile of rubble, saying, we have no clothes, no food, no water. Literally lost everything. And, immediately people are going to say, oh, but insurance or government funding or whatever. Well, not everybody lives that life. Not everybody actually has homeowners insurance. Not everybody has, catastrophic event insurance. Some people are literally just that fast homeless. So,
I mean, and then the thing with that is the turnaround time is very slow. I mean, we
yeah,
still have people here waiting to get funding from Sandy in New York City.
yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, I mean, that was FEMA. That's what, we're 12 years now, and
Yeah,
people are still waiting for money to help them rebuild in New York City.
yeah. So, and I say reputable because there's just too many people that like to take advantage of situations like this. So, hopefully by the time I want this to go live today, but hopefully by the time I go live, I've got a response back as to who people can donate to.
I mean, the
And
things to look at, John, are Red Cross are usually the first on site. American Red Cross, probably a good
yeah,
place to start. And then you're going to have local not-for-profits that are probably going to open up funding and donations around it. But that's probably, if it just happened yesterday, that's probably, man, I mean, this day and age, it might have already kicked up. But just look at reputable not-for-profits that are already there,
yeah.
that are well known in that area. If you're from the area and you know them, please leave it in the comments below. Any not-for-profits, so that way people can have a choice.
Okay. Yeah. So while we were talking, I got a text back from Justin Belt. And I won't share everything that he said because some of this is still raw. But Justin's request is that the Red Cross obviously is the first thing he said, but the other thing he said was really just shouting out good humans doing good things for each other. He said that's what he's seeing. He's seeing everybody just coming out to help everybody, which is always it's one of the things I loved about Nebraska is it was just a friendly place to be. And anyway, so I don't want that to be a downer for what we're talking about, but I do just want to say to those who are impacted, um, I'm not hard to find. So if there's anything I can do to help, please reach out. So
I
diving,
wasn't aware of that, John.
what's that?
Thanks for sharing, because I wasn't aware of that, and I'm glad to
Yeah.
know the family's okay. Because that was my first thought when I heard Omaha, Nebraska. I was like, oh,
Yeah, so both of my parents posted photos of the hail, and then my brother-in-law posted some photos of the hail in his hand. Um, he's got big old bear claws for hands, so it was really hard to tell what size they were, but they look, it was golf ball size hail. Um, but yeah, they were posting photos of it, and then it was interesting because when I called my dad, he was like, "Oh no, the tornado wasn't anywhere near us. It was way, north and west." And then when you're watching the footage, like he had no clue that these tornadoes were literally dropping all around him. There's footage of it dropping at Epley Airport, multiple tornadoes that dropped in the Omaha vicinity yesterday. So, but a huge storm. I don't know if you saw from north to south. It was just the almost the entire Midwest. We're hit by the rain here today, which I'm a little bit grateful for because yard work was on our agenda today, and now it's not. So,
all right. So we know it's getting edited before Rachel gets a whiff of what's going.
I don't think she watches my videos.
She'll
Like,
have you out there in a raincoat. Oh, you want to say you got out of it?
yeah,
Here's the
so
weed.
yeah, like once a month, I'll get a whole bunch of likes on my newsletter, where she'll try to catch up, and I get it. Those who subscribe to my newsletter, it's a lot. Every day I put something out, and usually it's a 4 or 5 minute read. So no harm, no foul. I do get regular feedback from the people that it hits when it hits, and that's all that matters to me. So um, for those in the know, there's a group of about 20 people that I've sent text messages to or LinkedIn direct messages to. And then there's a couple hundred people that get my newsletter who got this blasted to them as well. We're looking, what the main purpose of this, and Mike, I think this would be an open conversation between you and I. Um, the we want to have a tool that gives back in a real way. And while obviously you can see behind me, I'm a big fan of reading. Well, not actually reading, I listen to everything. I'm a big fan of books. I'm a big fan of continuing your education. Um, the truth is, I've not read many real world leadership books. I've read textbooks examples from people like Covey and Maxwell of when life is perfect. Here's how you can be a leader. But humans aren't perfect. Humans are far from perfect, and we refuse to admit that. To each other, but and sometimes we don't look in the mirror and admit it either. And so that's really the purpose of this show, is to be raw, to be authentic. And we've talked about a couple topics. And one of the things that is important to me, I have mentored veterans, I think since 2017. And I did it selfishly. I've told this story before, Mike. Selfishly, I had just moved to Detroit. I had no network here. I wasn't really into social media all that much back then. And I had to hire people, and I couldn't find good people to hire that brought the same type of attitude and skill set that I was looking for. And so I found this organization called Veterati, and it allowed me to become a mentor. And I was very selfish about it. I thought, well, this will be a great way for me to get exposure to veterans and maybe potentially hire them, because I love the work ethic of veterans. And to this day, I have not been able to hire a single one of them. I've come close a couple times, but I have helped a lot of veterans get jobs in the civilian world, and I've helped them transition from active duty to the civilian world. And so, a cause that has become very important to me is a viable path forward for a lot of these veterans. Resources. And, Mike, you had mentioned a while back that Syracuse University had a program for veterans to get their, I think you said it was their PMP, right?
They can get their PMP. They have Cisco certificates, a number of different ones. What I'll do is we'll put the link below. It's hold on, let me just look it up real quick before I say the name wrong.
Okay.
I don't want to say the wrong name and then people have something to say.
Yeah. So
they're an amazing program. I took part in them. my wife is taking part, well, is about to take part with their stuff, but it's for veterans and military families. I'll let you go, John. Let me just pull this up. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Um, and while you're doing that, something popped into my head. I know I've asked this question before, but I'm pretty sure since we're doing it behind the scenes, is that a laundry chute or electrical panel behind you?
It's an access to the attic. So I'm on the
Ah,
floor, and the house was built in the early 1900s. We actually have the lazy was it?
Lazy Susans?
No, the lazy waiter or whatever it is, the one where you have the shelf that goes all the way down to the basement and you can just pull it.
Yeah, it's called. I think it's called a dumbwaiter.
Dumb waiter, yeah,
Yeah,
there you go. I'm the
which
lazy one.
yeah, no offense to waiters out there, you're certainly not lazy or dumb.
uh but yeah, let's see. Where is this? No, I'm not going to be able to find it as easy as I could before.
So while you're pulling that up, there are a lot of online resources. People like Scott Stalker is out there posting a lot of information as he is currently transitioning. And Scott will also be on future shows where we talk about some of these resources. And then Michael Quinn is a fantastic resource for transitioning service members. I don't know how that guy finds the time. He's producing free LinkedIn events to people can log in and learn how to be better at LinkedIn if you're a veteran transitioning or a spouse of a veteran transitioning. Um, and then, of course, he's constantly providing job resources for veterans. So I'll throw their links on here as well, so you can check them out. So if you're not following Michael Quinn, Scott Stalker, Veterati, ACP, there's so many resources that are free. So that's a show that I think would bring some merit. And what I'd just throw it out there is if you are a veteran watching this and you have benefited from some type of scholarship or some type of program that's helped you further your education, reach out to us. You can drop it in the comments of this video on YouTube. You can reach out to Mike or I on LinkedIn as well. Did you find it,
Um,
Mike?
Not just education. Yeah, so it's but also any sort of benefits, right?
Mhm.
Whether that be employment support, that be, you know, mentorship, anything. Any
Yeah,
veterans benefits that is free of charge because there are some people out there that want to utilize veterans to earn some cash, but free of charge is what we're looking for.
yeah,
Those that are going to make a profit, let them do their own marketing. We want to help the ones that are out there trying to actually do a similar mission to ours, right? Trying to help
yeah.
people grow, advance, veteran specific for this time. I mean, I'm sure veteran and military family specific for this time. I'm
Hmm.
sure want to support other causes down the road, but right now let's focus on that. But the actual, it's through Syracuse University and it's the Institute for Veteran and Military Families Onward to Opportunity. So O2O is the name of the program. And they have a number of different things. And it looks like since the last time I looked, they've added. So I'm not going to go through their whole website and read it right now on camera, but definitely check them out. Great opportunities. A lot of it's online. Like I said, I'm in New York City. I took advantage of them and they're in Syracuse. My wife's in New York City. We'll take the same advantage. But I know for the PMP, they actually pay for the certification. They pay for the training. They help you study for the training. And then it looks like from what I'm seeing here, they have like employment assistance also. So once you get the training, possible assistance. But yeah, but definitely this is a program I've used before. I'm well aware of and I support.
Cool. Um,
But if
yeah,
we
go ahead.
Oh, I just want to go back to like the mission of what you said. So before we get like so far off and down another track and come back.
Yeah.
So the like just to add to what you said, John, because when you approached me about it, I was very much into it. And one of the ways you said was the poor man's leadership, right?
Mhm.
Like we want to bring this no cost or very little if we have to the actual people, get it to your layman. Those that are your average Joe, not in like some big finance job, they can afford the thousands of dollars for the mentorship and all that stuff. But a way for us to bring it to the everyday person, whether you're in leadership or not. Because I mean, as a line staff, I wanted to learn about leadership. As a line person, I wanted to learn it because that's how you advance, to get those kinds of ideas. As well as the reason that we want to do this to sort of behind the scenes to give everybody an outlook is we want this to be a community thing, not just John and I speaking, because we can do that all day long. John and I speak and don't shut up. And we can easily do this. But just to bring other people in, other personalities, other ideas, other thought leaders, because the way I view something, the way John views something, and the way, somebody else might view it are three different ways of viewing the same thing. And the more views of one issue you can bring in, the better it is. Even if, and I want to put this out there, even if you're not a leader and you have views, reach out. You've had life experience of dealing with leaders.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike, because I actually had somebody who I think is brilliant and just a constant source of energy tell me they didn't want to come on the show because they're not a leader. They don't have a titled position as leader. And I said, neither do I.
Yeah.
I said, I'm a headhunter and I'm in charge of myself. You can be a leader without a title. Leadership is an attitude, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to just, shout out to Meredith.
Mm-hmm.
Meredith came in and asked great questions of us. I mean, even if you're not a leader, you want to come in. We want those questions. Those real-time questions are authentic. Those real-time thoughts are authentic, and it helps us to create an authentic product that's going to be able to provide more information for people. Because if we're all leaders and you're not, our questions are based on us being leaders, or our thoughts are based on us being leaders. We might miss that not a leader view or not a leader question, or somebody not in a leadership role. We are all leaders, right? There's pair leaders. There's all sorts of leaders.
Yeah.
If you're the first one to cross the street, guess what? You're a leader, right? But that different mindset, I guess, is what I'm going to say, because I've been a leader for well over a decade, and probably well over 2 decades in different areas. So I have blinders.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Since the last time I had a line staff position, it's been a decade now, almost to the day. 6 days passed, or no, 26 days passed. So my mindset's away, and I've said this in other meetings, right, or other broadcasts. The world has changed so much just since the pandemic, right? So bringing this current day, current issue, current struggles helps us. So just putting that out there, you're an expert in what the current environment is. If you're sitting in a room of leaders, you're the expert on line staff. You're the expert on what that environment is. You're the expert of what the struggles are today. We're not.
Cool. Yeah. So before we get too far away from the military piece of it, I do just want to address this and why it's important. Specifically, if you're not a veteran and you're watching this, I have literally been in the room with people who have made certain comments that they won't hire a veteran because of PTSD. And what is interesting for me, Mike, is it was 30 years ago for me, and I don't wear it like a badge. I left the military, well, not quite 30 years ago, but pretty close. And so it's something I did. It's something I enjoyed. It's something that, it's a part of my life, but it is not a part of my personality where you immediately pick up on it. Now, those who have served, they pick up on it because they see certain behaviors that literally never leave us. But I just want to point out to potential hiring managers, not everybody has PTSD. It's a very small percentage. And the truth is, anybody can have PTSD. You don't have to have served in the military. So it's important to me because I think that a couple examples have been shared in the media of people who have served and things have happened, and that has branded veterans to the point that, even though an employer says they're military friendly, show me the numbers that you're military friendly. Show me how many veterans actually work for you. You might be veteran friendly in the interview process, but this is why I'm dedicated to this. Is there are so many amazing veterans out there who just struggle to find their place, because they're fighting an uphill battle. And so, anyway, so that's why it's important to me. I don't want to dwell too much on it um, I think there are some really great employers out there that really do put the veteran foot forward. Um, so, um, Mike, we had a whole bunch of topics that came out, but I want to share with you, when I sent that email out and I sent the messages out, um, the idea that you had thrown on the list, it was what to look for in mentors to help you grow. That one sentence has gotten the most feedback. That is the one thing that people have, like, of all the other items that were on that list, that one stands out. I got the most people reaching out saying, I would like to be a part of that conversation.
Mhm.
And so, I want to kind of put that back to you. What inspired that?
I mean, I think I've had many mentors in my life, especially not formal mentors like it's set up. Just many people who, being a veteran, being a combat veteran from the current wars, that have taken me under their wing. And I was thinking about it because of last week's the the meeting we had. Like, I forget what we called it, but like where we got together and were able to give the coaching and everything. Um, I came out raw, right? Like, it was like I said in that meeting. If I saw an injustice, I was on my soapbox yelling and screaming. Um, Not literally, but I was
Hmm.
fighting an injustice and people just taking me in under their wing. Um, and I benefited a lot. I mean, it helped me to adjust back into what the civilian world is and how to move and how to tolerate people with different mindsets. In the military, you got that pretty much basic mindset of this person outranks me, they tell me what to do, I should do it. Unless it's horribly wrong and we know that. Um, but sorry. Yeah, so that's kind of what brought it to my mind. And I mean, I still have mentors today. I have old college professors that I have lunch with, or dinner with once a semester. Um, I have old mentors that I still reach out to. I have mentors at work, people who are in the C-suite that, I can reach out to have a conversation.
Mhm.
As well as I've diversified my mentorship. So my mentors aren't in the same field as me, a lot of them. I have mentors that are old police chiefs on the NYPD. I have mentors that are compliance officers. I have mentors that are risk management officers. Um, all these different levels, different skill sets, different fields. So that's why I was thinking, because I don't think many people think, oh, they think mentor has to be in my field, has to be in logistics, right? If
Right.
that's what I'm at. But I mean, you get a viewpoint of a compliance on logistics, you could bring that in, or a risk management. You could bring that information in, and just learning those different viewpoints of it was something I don't think we naturally think of. And I accidentally tripped into doing this and found its value.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've said. And in my opinion, some of the loudest voices on certain social media sites will say, um, they'll want to split hairs over what a mentor and a coach is. And I think that, um, in my own opinion, I agree with what you say. Is I have plenty of mentors in my life that have a diverse background. I do have mentors in my industry that I specifically go to bounce ideas off of and say, this is what I'm thinking. Am I heading down the right path? Um, but then, it doesn't have to be just about what you do for a living. It could be, you could have a faith mentor. You could have, I have a parenting mentor. There is a very specific couple who,
Is it your
you
mom
know,
and dad?
no, um, it's two people that I met as an adult, and they were such amazing parents, and their kids turned out to be amazing humans, and they know who they are. I've told them this. Um, that was my parenting mentor. I said, you have raised amazing kids. And they'll joke and they'll say, "Oh, they're good show kids," um, but behind closed doors, they're just like any other kids. But ultimately, isn't that what you're looking for? Is when you send your kids off into the world, you want them to be a good human. You want them to give back in a positive way. And so if they come home and they want to argue with me or they want to leave their clothes all over the floor, I'm
Mhm.
okay with that. Um, they go out in the world, they get straight A's, they're a good human. And as a parent, I've had this opportunity multiple times where when my daughter was going through karate, I didn't get to go to every karate class, every karate event. My work pulled me away. And, there was an event that I went to after my daughter had become a black belt. And I'm sitting there in the room, and it's an indoor and outdoor type of event. I'm inside with all the other parents, and my daughter is walking toward the building, and I hear the other moms in the room. They're like, "Oh, here she comes! Here she comes! That's her right there." And then they start talking about what a great motivation she is to their kids, and what a great how nice she is to all of their kids, and how much she teaches them. And like these moms are just cackling back and forth about how much they. And so I'm like, who are they talking about? And I turn around and I look, I'm like, oh, that was a pretty proud dad moment right there, that it was my kid they're talking about. So we have mentors across the board that we look at to say, okay, if I want to be better at this aspect of my life, a physical fitness mentor. There are people out there that I look at and I'm just like, wow, like they are dedicated to their craft. In my case, I'm definitely going for the dad bod. I could probably do a few more sit-ups, push-ups, but so you can have mentors in any aspect of your life. So appreciate that, Mike. Um, so there's a meme that I laugh at from time to time because I've been this guy. So the other thing on your list was the role of a peer leader, and uh, there's a meme, and I might share it. I don't know. It depends on how much work it takes me to find it, about that coworker who acts like your boss. And this has happened to me twice in my career early on, where I had a coworker get super upset and actually complain to our boss because we were both in non-leadership roles, and the two different people, two different companies, and they were doing something stupid. And I offered advice on how they could do it better. And keep in mind, that's my generalization of what they were doing. They probably thought it was brilliant. They reminded me that I wasn't their boss and that they were going to do it the way they wanted to. Then they later complained. And I'm only telling the story because our boss later came back and they're like, yeah, he was right. You should have done it differently. Um, but it's a meme about that I think is interesting because the role of a peer leader could be really challenging. And I find myself now just being quiet until the whole situation is over. And then if it turns out badly, I'm like, hey, I've done that before. If you ever want me to show you how I've done it, I'm more than happy to. But I don't assert myself to tell someone else how to do it. But I think the role of a peer leader could be powerful in an organization because the fact is your boss is not always around. And sometimes you got to turn to your left and turn to your right and look for guidance. But I think sometimes how that guidance is given could be received poorly. So, Mike, where were
I
you
mean,
coming from?
what I'm thinking is, so as we talked in the past, I mean, leadership is not just being a leader; it's leader and a manager. You got two different caps. I mean, what I kind of hear is telling somebody else how to do something that they
Hmm.
didn't seek help on is peer managing. Um, Kind of what you said, sitting back and saying, "Hey, I'm here if you need help," is peer leading. Leading by example, like just I think I gave the example of when I was in the infantry, first started out, had a horrible squad leader. Well, not a horrible squad leader, more of a horrible team leader. But it just pretty much, I ended up becoming, and I was the lowest ranking man on the team, ended up becoming the pair leader because I just tried to do the best I could, kept my head down, did what I needed to do, raised morale, checked in with the rest of my team, and developed that team based off of relationship. I mean, I've been a pair leader a number of different times throughout my career, but it's pretty much creating, for me, the way I've been a pair leader is creating a safe space for people to seek help from their pairs. Even as a leader, I try to create that to where the pairs or people feel that they can seek help from their pairs. They don't just have to wait till supervisor's there and stuff like that. And giving everybody value. So that's kind of what I'm talking about as a pair leader is kind of showing that you have that ability to unite, that ability to develop, and that ability to build a team or squad, if you want to put it in the military or whatever it is. But to be able to build that cohesive group.
Okay. So, Mike, as we talk about kind of doing a behind the scenes to the show so that, people can see how it comes about. So if you're still watching and you haven't gotten bored and either sped us up or turned us off, this is literally how our ideas are born and how the shows are born is we just start bouncing ideas back and forth. And, one of the great things about recording and not being live is when things happen, we can actually say, hey, hold on a second, somebody just rang the doorbell, or hey, I've got to run to the bathroom, or hey, my dog is barking at the door, I've got to go let him out. And we can take a break and I can edit that out and you never see it.
Or my computer falls off its stand and
yeah.
it just happened.
Now, I will say there's one episode that something really funny happened, and I didn't edit it out because it was so funny. I did reach out to the person and say, "Hey, just so you know, you were sitting in a leather chair in shorts, and so when you when you shifted, it certainly sounded like." And he found it funny as well, so we left it in. It's out there on YouTube. I challenge you to go find it. But yeah, a lot of things have happened that we've been able to edit out. And for your benefit, if you're watching this, I've actually edited out a lot of myself because, as Mike points out, I can get on a soapbox and I can go. So, so if you say something that you're not comfortable with, usually the editing process, we're usually a week out. Today will be an exception. I'll have to turn this around pretty quickly. But the editing process looks like this. Simply when we're done, Zoom takes a bit to create the video. I throw it into an editor. I go through, I watch it. I cut out the parts that I don't think add value. It's usually me. I cut out any bloopers or something that if like we say, hey, Mike, cut that part out, I'll cut it out. I then send a link to the edited video to you, either on YouTube or through a Google Drive, where you get a chance to watch it before it goes live. And if you're not happy with it, one time we have had one person who said, I'm just not comfortable with that. And we cut the show. We did not air the show. And I'm okay with that. We usually have a couple in, I guess, in the can, as they say. I don't have a can though. So yeah, in the queue. We usually have a couple going on. So it's pretty laid back, but I would say if everybody adds value to the show in one way or another. There's somebody out there who can relate to you. There's somebody out there who says, I'm not the only person going through that. And it helps them to move along through their journey. It helps them to process things differently because sometimes in life, there's not a fix. Sometimes in life, you just got to learn how to deal with something. And it's, we all have parts of our job that we don't like. We all have parts of our life that we don't like. I'm a big advocate for find your happy job, live a happy life. But life's not perfect. So that's really what I think we're looking to broadcast here is that you can still have a happy life and happy job, even though it's not perfect. So I don't want to give away all the topics that we're going to talk about, Mike, because then nobody will watch.
They won't watch because they're going to know what's going to come up. You think they're
Yeah.
not going to see the topic when it pops in?
Well, then they'll watch.
All right. Um, I guess we'll agree to disagree on that one because I was thinking just like give a little brief on what we're
Yeah.
looking for under each topic. So if somebody's interested,
Yeah.
they see,
Well, I've got
like,
them
hey,
pulled
I
up.
want to, yeah, like hey, they say I want to talk about that topic. They can hit us up if they weren't on that email list.
Yeah. So let me just run through them. But before I do that, I'll say if you don't hear your topic here, just reach out to us.
Yeah.
Say, hey, here's what we want to talk about. I am pretty talented at finding people that can speak to that issue from an expert's perspective because they've been through it. They've lived through it from both sides. So we talked about the viable path forward for self-development at no cost or low cost, and that will be for veterans and for non-veterans. Another topic is we've actually done a show about this, but there's so much more to talk about as humility as a leader, how to accept your role and your ownership of that role.
Yeah.
A big one is how to transition from a peer to leader because there are very few organizations out there that actually have legitimate training programs to help people progress through their career. And it's actually the number one reason why people retain me, as you know, why my clients retain me is they don't have a program to train their people. So
And if we could just go back to that, the reason
yeah,
that topic is so important is promotion from within is a huge morale booster.
yes,
If people feel that they have a place to grow, you're not going to get them bouncing around. And that is as a hiring manager, and well as being a Generation X millennial borderline, I bounced around a lot because I didn't feel that that was a place for me to stay. I stayed where the military I could grow. I felt that there were opportunities. My current employer, I've been here for next month will be over a decade because I've had the ability to grow, move around, stuff of that nature. I It's that feeling that creates the buy-in, that creates the loyalty, and that increases the morale of the program or organization in general that the person's in. So that's why that's so important.
yes. So I'm curious. You said you're borderline millennial.
So I was born in 80. That's the last year of Gen X. 81 is millennial. So that's what I'm saying, borderline. So I carry traits.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I just Googled it. You're not wrong because
Like,
I totally would have lumped you into that millennials category.
oh, thanks, Sean. Thanks. I feel the love.
Yeah, not that it's a bad thing, not judging, maybe a little bit. So the here as a recruiter, I will tell you there's a few things I hear a lot from candidates who reach out for confidential searches. They'll tell me I have no path forward where I'm at. They just hired in my boss from the outside, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So having that a path forward within your company, because people will tell me I'm not going to get promoted in my current role and I feel like I'm ready, or they'll tell me, yep, I change jobs every 2 years because I don't get pay raises where I'm at. And so, because the company doesn't believe in merit increases, a person can change jobs and give themselves a 20% pay increase every 2 years, versus, those folks who stay stable in that job, they'll get maybe a 7% increase if they're lucky, and that's with some of the best companies out there, which are rare. So the next thing is how to lead when you're new to the team, which that's such a huge challenge, specifically if you're not just new to the team, but you're new to the company and you don't know the culture. You got to learn the culture while you're learning the people. And then traits of a good leader, which that we could probably do 50 shows on that. What to look for in subordinates for advancement. I think that's great because, quite honestly, most leaders just look for the person, the yes man, to promote. There's not a lot of strong leaders out there that look for people that are different than them, that disagree with them, that'll challenge them on ideas. And then, so that's just a short list of some of the things that we're thinking about doing. And, everybody is welcome with their own opinions. And ultimately, what we want to focus on is a product that gives back, a product that helps the everyday person, as Mike says, the poor man's leadership class. If we help you in any kind of way, being motivational and saying things to get you jazzed up is great. Love that too. But what I'm really looking for is how can I put tools in your toolbox that will help you grow your career?
I'm 100% in agreement.
So the parts of the show that I think end up being the most fun are the before we record and then when we're done recording. So usually we'll have a little huddle at the start where we'll talk about what we're going to talk about. We'll do the niceties of, hey, nice to meet you, whatever, good to see you again. And then like everybody snaps into broadcast mode. And I'm really looking to kind of break that down. And I get it. If you have a certain image that you want to portray, I respect that. And I won't try to change that. But what I want to put out there is this just real, raw, authentic. This is who we really are. Yeah. And then at the end
The
of
nice
it,
thing about the beginning is not just the niceties.
Mhm.
We joke, we pick on each other. It's very light. You actually get to kind of know who's in the room before we come in. So it's not, oh, how are you? Nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? And then record. Like you actually hear us, like John and I pick on John a lot. John will give it back sometime.
It's intense abuse.
I try, got to get it out someplace, right? But like it's a very lighthearted get to know each other. And then as John said, then we snap in to this is our public image, this is who we are. Like type of video, and then we wrap up and that's, hey, this is what's going on, anything new, what do you guys think? And we have another lighthearted discussion, but it's very informal before and after. And honestly, if you think you might want to do it, come join us, because if you don't feel comfortable before we snap on video, you can always bow out. But at least you got to come in and see what it's like, and hopefully, feel comfortable with it and join, because we're looking for that participation. This is a community thing. This isn't a John and Mike thing. This isn't a John thing. This isn't any one person that's on the show thing. This is us as a community trying to give back to the larger community.
And this has been the coolest part about having people on the show is I've literally done shows with people in Australia, New Zealand, Africa, Ireland, England. I did a show with a guy in Italy. So it's been really cool to have that kind of a reach, because I've also been able to bring all these people together who have now formed really neat friendships. And that's cool. It's cool to see that, because I had a show where I brought some guests on, Canada as well. I guess I should point that out. That's really the rewarding part, is these folks are actually forming friendships. And I don't really do the in real life thing, because I think I know 90% of the people I'm connected with on LinkedIn and social media. I've met most of them in real life at some point. There's very few people that I'm connected with that I haven't actually met. So anyway, it's the show is a good time, and we've reached that point of this show where I'm going to ask Mike how people can reach out to him if they want to connect.
Really? Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I guess that's the best. I'm not a social media guy, nor am I trying to build like a platform outside of this. But just to point out, if you're not comfortable being in the show, please follow, like, subscribe, the YouTube channel, LinkedIn. It helps us to get the word out, start spreading it a little bit more. As well as I believe if they're subscribed, John, that the views start counting to bring it up to the top.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So help us hit those metrics so that way we can get this higher up and we start showing up in more searches to get a bigger following, to get a bigger viewer base, and to impact more people.
Yeah. And what we do is not monetized. So I just want to put that out there.
We're
And
still in the free mode. That's
yeah,
where we're trying to stay.
yeah, and somebody sent me yesterday top 10 podcasts, and it's not my intent. I don't ever want to be a top 10 podcast. All I ever want to do is make the world a better place, 1% point a day. So if I can be 1% better today and I can help you be 1% better today, to me, that's a win. Cool. What else you got, Mike?
Nothing. That's it.
Awesome. All right. So if you watch this and you're still here, thank you. Appreciate that. Hopefully we entertained a little bit, motivated you a little bit, and maybe we'll see you here on a future episode, or at least your ideas represented. Cool. So you ready for me to stop recording now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.